Thank you to Hobbii for gifting me all the yarn featured in today's video. Hey there, welcome to my channel, String Things by Mel. My name is Melissa. I'm a stay-at-home mom living in Vancouver, Canada. And on my channel, I chat and share everything about my knitting hobby. Today is the review that I've been kind of mentioning the past couple of videos, and it is the full yarn pattern and performance review of some garments I made out of gifted yarn from Hobbii. So Hobbii reached out to me back in June and asked if I would be interested in testing out some of their yarn. They didn't specifically say which yarn, other than it had to be a Hobbii or Friends line, so their own in-house yarn. So the yarn I'm sharing, I picked the colors and I picked the yarn myself, and I kind of accepted the yarn on the condition that I wanted to be able to give my own honest review and feedback of the yarn, and Hobbii was totally fine with it. So just really brief my experience with Hobbii in terms of communication with them. Shipping was very quick. So for this sort of campaign that I am doing for them, there was a timeline with specific dates for things, and they were in advance enough for me to be able to complete all these projects. So there's no pressure from them on completion of my projects. The yarn arrived quickly, so I was able to start right away. And there was one small issue with delivery of the package. I was charged some extra taxes when it arrived, and I thought that was kind of strange. Like, I thought this was supposed to be gifted yarn. So I did mention that to the person that I was in communication with, and she said, yeah, that is weird. Like, we don't expect people to pay any portion of, you know, delivery or whatnot. So they reimbursed me. So that was really good. So yeah, overall a good experience communicating with them, and really like no pressure, no saying, hey, how are you doing on this? How's this going? Like, none of that really. It's just, I've been going at my own pace. Well, within the agreed timeline. So let's go ahead and get into the reviews. So my goal that I mentioned in my unboxing video was to make 3 garments in the period of 1 month. Now, I got the yarn early and actually started knitting in July. So I treated July as if it were the month of August, because my unboxing video was released August 1st. However, I did have a test knit in July, so there was about a week where I only worked on my test knit and not on these Hobbii projects. So I gave myself the timeline of July 1st to August 10th to complete the 3 projects, and I made it just in time. So I do have all 3 ready. However, one of them I finished quite recently and have not had the opportunity to wear it. One, because of it's been too warm to wear it, and well, 2, because I just finished it so recently that, yeah, haven't had a chance. So I won't be doing a full performance review on that item. So let's go ahead and dive into the first item, and then I'm going to tell you how the performance review works after this one, since I'm not doing it for this one. So the last item I finished, which is the Dare to Mohair top. This is made with Friends Kid Silk, and this is the color Cognac. And so Friends Kid Silk comes in balls of 25 grams and 200 meters. And the composition is 72% mohair, 25% silk, and 3% wool. I found this really nice to work with. In ball form, it feels soft. It doesn't feel too prickly. So this is color number 17, and Friends Kid Silk comes in 66 different shades and is produced in Italy. The listed price online is $11.20 US. At least that's what it was at the time I received the yarn. That converts to roughly $14.69 Canadian per 25-gram ball. So since this comes in a ball, you don't have to wind it up. If you like to wind your yarn up in cakes, feel free to do so. I work directly off the ball because I'm comfortable and can tension my yarn fine just that way. So the pattern is the Dare to Mohair top from Thorson Knits. It's a simple top-down raglan. There are short rows, and the raglan increases are done at a consistent rate, so it's not a compound raglan. If you're not sure what a compound raglan, whether a top has it or doesn't have it, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad pattern or a poor pattern. Compound raglan is shaping within the raglan line, adjusting where the increases are, because remember, we are three-dimensional, so adjusting the rate of increases can help with fit, especially if you have a big difference between your full bust to your under bust or upper bust measurements. Compound raglan shaping can help that out. So I'll leave a link in the description if you want to just read more about it. But the Dare to Mohair top does not have compound raglan shaping. I did not knit mine out with the recommended ease. So if you look at the sample photos of Nicole Thorson herself, her name is Nicole, right? I hope I got that right. It fits relatively closely to her body. However, I wanted to avoid any chance of having mohair up in my armpits. So my goal for my garment was to make a boxy crop fit tee. So I did some extra rounds in the yoke, and I also didn't do any decreases in the sleeves. And after a wash and block, I think I've achieved the look that I was going for. So the body is worked with a single strand of the mohair, and all the ribbing is done holding strands double. And surprisingly, I don't know why I thought working with a single strand of mohair was going to be annoying or difficult, or just, something was going to be off, but it was totally fine. I did use bamboo needles, and I would recommend a wooden or a bamboo needle because you definitely need that extra bit of friction to prevent your stitches from sliding off too quickly. Because of the silk core and just the mohair itself, I find that it can be really slippery if you are using metal needles. So use bamboo or wooden ones if you have them. Now, I mentioned that it's been too warm to wear this and to test it out. It's funny enough, like today is actually a cooler, kind of cloudy, overcast day. So it's about 16 degrees. Potentially today would have been a good day to test this out, but have yet to wear this, so I cannot comment on whether I feel like the yarn is prickly on my skin or not. But my plan for wearing this is just over a bra or perhaps a thin camisole, and we'll see in the future. Once I've had some more opportunities to wear this, I will provide a full performance review or more thoughts on wearability of it then. So that is the Dare to Mohair top made out of the Friends Kid Silk. Based on my experience of just knitting up this top, I would work with Friends Kid Silk again. I think having that little bit of wool does add some more warmth and a little bit of softness. For me personally, I have a thing with mohair where I'm not sure if I totally am into it. Mohair is hairy. I am not sure if I like the feel of it alone, and I'm also not sure if I like the look of it. So I've been leaning more towards using brushed suri alpaca when I want a fluffy fiber, because that one is less hairy. So that's just my personal preference. But given the opportunity, I think I would buy Friends Kid Silk again because it does have a lot of colors available. Some colors you can't find in Knitting for Olive, for example. Maybe Hobbii might be more accessible for you. Um, Accessibility. So the prices are listed in US dollars. So for me, with the Canadian dollar not being the greatest, it's not my go-to when I have so many local yarn shops and shops to purchase from in Canada. I will choose those shops before shopping from Hobbii. However, I know Tony has a wool cotton blend coming out on September 1st. So I'm very tempted to order that and give that a go because I'm very intrigued by that. So my way of getting around the US dollars and the potential shipping costs is that I actually have a mailbox in Point Roberts, which is US territory, which is very, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I'll just put up a map for you guys. But my in-laws live in Tawasin, so it's really not too much out of my way to go to Point Roberts to pick up a parcel. I used to actually, while we visit the in-laws, would get gas there. And now that, it's not really pandemic anymore, we don't have any extra procedures to do when crossing the border, I think I may go back into ordering parcels to Point Roberts because generally I avoid higher shipping costs because it's going to a US address sometimes. So we'll see if that's something I'll do. I haven't actually put anything in a shopping basket to see if there is a big difference in shipping price to US versus Canada, but if that's an option for you, that's maybe something you want to look into. All right, so the next top I will go through is the one I'm wearing. But before I jump into that, so if you are new to my concept of a performance review, don't feel so left out. I've only actually done one performance review video before this one. So this performance review, this process of it started out because I wanted to be more mindful about what goes into my wardrobe. Now I have limited space, living in a small apartment in Vancouver. I don't have a huge closet. Also, I find it hard to pick outfits when I have so many pieces that, if I hadn't thought ahead about, color and fit and where does this match anything else in my wardrobe, then there comes in the difficulty of picking out things to wear. And also my life has changed. I am now a mom. What I do day to day is very different from what I did 10 years ago. So I created this criteria just to be more successful in choosing my outfits and also choosing colors as well as thinking about what goes with each other. So if you do want to see my first round of performance reviews, that was on some winter garments, and I'll put a link in the description if you are interested in that video. But there are 7 questions that I ask a garment, and the idea of the performance review also comes from like a work office environment. So at work, your boss or your manager may conduct performance reviews for employees, and it could be looking at what you've done well, maybe where you need improvement, and potentially whether you are going to stay on with the company or not. So just like that is how I sort of treat the garments. They have to play a role in my wardrobe. Do they get worn often enough to stay in my wardrobe? Also assessing, did I make a fit that I like? Is it functional for me for all my mom duties? That kind of stuff. So the 7 questions, first one being, did I wear it? 2, how often did I wear it? 3, where, as in like location wise, where did I wear it? Number 4, what did I wear it with? So how did I style it? What kind of outfits did I create with it? Number 5, why do I think I wore it as often or as few times as I did? And number 6, would I make any changes to the garment? And number 7, is it worth it to make another? So those are the 7 questions that I will be asking the camisole number 9 and the following knit, which is the mini mock neck tank. So camisole number 9, pattern from My Favorite Things knitwear, and I use the Friends Extra Fine Merino in the color olive. So extra fine merino comes in balls of 50 grams and 165 meters, and it's 100% superwash merino. It's available in 49 shades. It's South American wool and is musing free, and is also getting tongue-tied here, Oecotex certified. So this is listed on the website at the price of $7.80 US, which roughly converts to $10.23 Canadian per ball. Oh, and just in case if you want to know the color number, olive is color 109. Now, this yarn for the pattern, camisole number 9, is a little bit heavier than the yarn used in the sample. Knitting for olive, is it the cotton merino or just the merino? Yes, it's either one of those. It's a bit lighter. So I was concerned my top was going to turn out to be a little bit heavier, but surprisingly does not feel heavy, and it feels very comfortable. So I want to get into the pattern itself. And I apologize, I'm going to be looking up and down a lot because I don't have a lot of this memorized. I didn't rehearse any of this, so I have to refer to my notes. So the yarn itself comes in balls. So I work directly off of the ball. Go ahead and cake it up if you want. I did find that there is a little bit of that pinstriping effect that you can get with superwash merino. And that's just due to how the yarn is kind of twisted or spun. That doesn't bother me. If that bothers you, maybe don't use superwash. I don't know if this is a superwash only issue though. Just in my limited experience, that is just what I have noticed with using superwash yarn. So I made the smallest size, and I did use the recommended needles. I did hit gauge, and I followed the exact instructions for the small size except for the length. So the smaller size lists the length from the underarm down to the end of the body at 28 centimeters. That's about 11 inches, I think. I have a sort of long-ish torso. I also wanted this to be long enough to tuck into high-waisted bottoms. So mine is actually at 31 centimeters or 32 centimeters. And I'll get more into the length of that because there's some blocking things that you should know about this. I had no issues with the pattern itself, but I will say that you definitely want to be somewhat confident about your seaming or sewing skills, because the way that this top is finished requires hand sewing all the way around, all these edges. That is all hand sewn down. And I would suggest you just take it slow. So when you finish off the armholes and the neckline, you knit up a particular length and then that is sewn down. There is a pickup ratio provided in the pattern when you knit these edges. So when you go to sew them down, I would recommend that you sew down in that same ratio. So you just have to go back into where your pickup row is and you should be fine. Although I had to do it a couple times in the front and it's still not, you know, I wouldn't say, not that I ever want perfect, but it could be better. It did block out a little bit, but you can see how my stitches kind of, they're not so great looking right here. I obviously, you know, sew down at a not so great rate in this area. But this side turned out all right, so that's okay. I'd already kind of like undone the seaming and done it once, and I didn't want to do that again. And then I did a lot better on the armhole edges though. But I do like the way it looks. It looks very similar to many of my tank tops that I have, store-bought tank tops I already have in my wardrobe. It's very much my style. This is something I would wear every time the weather is warm enough to wear a tank top for me. So I really like this top. Another thing to note, so I'm wearing, on purpose, you can see my bra straps. So I'm wearing a regular bra with the straps in a regular orientation. Sorry, that's a bit exaggerated. Let me get that back in place. So for me, I generally convert my straps to like racer back so that those cross in my back, and then that way my straps are definitely not visible while I'm wearing it. So I don't know if that happens to everyone or it could just be the shape of the top itself, but I wanted to mention that in case that's something that you care about, how you wear your bra. So I suppose some people would just have no bra, which I don't do no bra. Or maybe you go a strapless bra, but I also don't do strapless bra. That's just my thing. But yeah, I would recommend wearing bra straps that cross in the back so that pulls it in enough to prevent those from being visible. Okay, let's talk about blocking of this top. So I don't have a lot of experience with superwash. I always hear superwash grows a lot, be careful, make sure you know your gauge. And so to ensure I was careful to not stretch out the top too much once it was wet, I did some very detailed measurements of the top before blocking so that I could reference that when I put this down on the blocking mat. So I made sure when I tried it on, kind of made some notes to myself like, okay, yeah, block this out a little bit longer. Make sure this part doesn't stretch out more. So I took measurements of, you know, the neck hole depth, the armhole depth, the yoke depth, the length from the underarm to the end of the body, like pretty much every single measurement. And then once I actually got this wet and laid it onto my blocking mat, I saw the length had grown by 5 centimeters. And given the fact that my goal was to make this long enough to tuck in pants, not an issue for me. But if that is something, like if you are making this cropped or you need it to end at a very specific length, just be mindful of that. But, so it grew by 5 centimeters and the width grew about half a centimeter. Now, after wearing this, it is not that long anymore. So what has happened is that I've worn it and the finished blocked circumference is smaller than what it is now. So from wearing it, it's grown a little bit in circumference, but not in such a way that it's too big for me. It just, it still fits really nice. Do I have negative ease in this area here still? Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm falling over. This is what I get for sitting on the floor, I guess. I don't know. Oh man. Yeah, I still have a really good fit in the underarm area. So this 2 centimeter growth, which is what has happened since it was blocked, fine for me. And because the fabric has grown widthwise, the length kind of got brought up or eaten up because of the growth that way. And now my finished length from underarm to end of body is 32 centimeters. So, but that's still longer than the size extra small. So again, the size extra small, the length is 28 centimeters. Mine is 32, which is more, I think it's the extra large. Has instructions for that length. But again, length is something that is personal, and depending on how you want to wear it, it's up to you. But just thought I'd mention that in case anyone is of similar body type or is trying to look at me for reference. Mine is longer than the extra small. All right, so I think that's all I had to say on that one. Yes. All right, performance review time. Camisole number 9. How did you do? So 1, did I wear it? Oh yeah. I've worn this at least once a week since I finished it. It is, as I said, something that fits very well into my wardrobe. It's something that, a style that exists in my wardrobe already. This color was not my usual pick. It's kind of on trend, which is not like me. But I kept seeing this color or this variation of color, and I kept thinking, you know what? I think I want to add this to my wardrobe. And I think it had worked out well. I think it looks good with my tan complexion. This camera makes me look less tan than I am. I actually am kind of darker than this. But anyways, it works. I like it. It goes with jeans, black jeans, blue jeans, white jeans. I wear jeans. Yeah, and it's been very comfortable, very easy to wear. I was worried that I was going to have some flaring out of these edges. So I've been considering whether to add elastic into the neckline, as well as the armhole edges. I feel like over time, like this is gonna, I don't know, flare out or something. Like it still fits quite well. But I wonder if I should just put in the knitting elastic just to prevent a flaring out and growth in those areas, because really it's not that hard to put it in, so I'm probably gonna put it in. Sorry, that comment probably should go later of the changes. But 3, where have I worn this? Everywhere. Playground, grocery shopping, running errands. It's goes everywhere for me. And color wise, like it's a casual color, but it also works if I'm going out to a brewery or a restaurant with the family. It's dressed up, dressed down. It really works everywhere for me. 4, with what? So given that it's summer, I've been wearing it with shorts. I have some striped, black and white pinstriped linen shorts that are high-waisted that I wear them with, blue jeans, black jeans, full pants. I have some flowy bottoms that are, do you see them in a video? Oh, in my mini mock neck reel, I'm wearing those pants. I also wear this top with those pants. So it's been very versatile with my summer wardrobe. And I can also layer it. So it's too warm to wear like woolly cardigans. So what I usually do is I have some oversized button-ups that I wear as a layer when it gets a little bit chilly. And by chilly, I mean like maybe it's 22 degrees or there's a slight breeze, so it's like not cold. But I need something for my arms, so I have a black oversized button up that I've just been wearing over that. Good enough for me. I also have a white one. Yeah. And so number 5, so why do I think I have worn it as often as I have? And as I said, it is comfortable. It's functional. I don't pick away or pull at it while I'm wearing it. It fits great. And it goes with any occasions, really. Like, I don't go out anywhere fancy, so this really is an everyday item for me. 6 changes. So I don't know, the whole elastic thing, I don't think that's really a change. That's just kind of like an add-on. So I wrote here, my change would be to get better at sewing. I'm still like just that area there, like where that curve is. Otherwise, like I did pretty well on the armhole. So that's my only change to the pattern. Otherwise, I did everything as the pattern said. Number 7, will I make another? And my answer is yes. If you have watched my Flock Fiber Festival haul video, I purchased some La Bien Aimée yarn from there, which I'm planning to make another Camisole number 9 out of that one. And it was like this clay pink color. Also another color I typically don't go for, but yeah, I feel like given this is a style of top I like to wear a lot, I think it's a good investment in adding some more colors of this kind of top. So that is the Camisole number 9. Okay, the last garment we put up for review. Hopefully you can't hear my husband chattering away. He is working from home, and he might have opened the door and is talking on the phone at the same time, but anyway, sorry for that interruption, that thought there. So the last garment is the mini mock neck tank. I made this one using the Hobbii Unicorn Solid. This is fingering weight yarn. It comes in 100-gram skeins, 400 meters, 75% superwash merino, and 25% polyamide. If you're not familiar with polyamide, it's like nylon. It comes in 27 shades, and the colors are based off of the hand-dyed line called Unicorn. So the Unicorn Solid, which is what I've used, is not hand-dyed. And they are supposed to be kind of complementary to the hand-dyed line. So the product description tells you which hand-dyed skeins contain this color if you're trying to kind of mix and match between the hand-dyed ones and the non-hand-dyed ones. So for example, green tea is color number 26, which is this one, and it can be found in the hand-dyed skein Unicorn number 5. So if you wanted to mix this with a variegated yarn, that's the one that you'd want to buy. It is Oekatex certified. Listed price online $22 US, which roughly converts to $28.85 Canadian per skein. So this does come in a twisted hank form, so you will need to wind up this yarn. I avoided purchasing a yarn swift for a very long time, and I just decided, like, I seem to be buying more hand-dyed yarn, let's just get the yarn swift. But you can do it without a yarn swift. My trick is to use 2 chairs and put them, the backs back to back, and, you know, kind of open the chairs depending on how big the diameter of the yarn, and then set up my yarn winder so it's like at the same height or higher than the yarn, and kind of go that way. It's a bit slower because you gotta guide the yarn with your hand and everything, but it is doable if you don't have too much to wind up. So my experience knitting with this yarn, really good. I would say that this yarn is softer than these Friends Extra Fine Merino. It is listed as a virgin wool, so is virgin wool typically softer, right? I think. It's also, this one I would say is a true fingering. Well, this one I think is, it might be closer to sport weight. But this one is knit on 3mm needles, and I think the fabric for me is still fine. This one is knit on 3.5mm needles, so maybe that makes it feel softer and more pliable because 3.5 is a little bit bigger than the recommended recommended needles, which is 3mm. But anyways, so good experience with the yarn. I don't recall finding any knots in the skein that I used, so that was really good. Not that knots are bad, but if you get a lot of knots, then yeah, that can get annoying. But I don't recall having any knots in my skein. Where are my notes here? Yeah, next, the pattern. So this is the mini mock neck tank from Jessie Made Designs. I knit size small. I think she calls them small. See, I always get confused when some people use letters, numbers, or they actually say extra small or small. I knit the second smallest size, or the second size, which I think is called small. I did use the recommended needle size. I did hit gauge, and I used less than one skein. I used about 79 grams of it, which is about 316 meters worth. And the length of mine is based off an existing top in my wardrobe, so I cannot recall if that is longer or shorter than what's done in the pattern, but length is something that you can easily alter depending on what you want to do, how you want to wear it. And I did knit the smaller neckband ribbing, so the pink sample that Park Williams is wearing has the full length ribbing in the color, and I went with the shorter one because I don't like things like right up against my neck. It does touch my neck, but it was kind of verging on turtleneck look, and I didn't want to have that, so I went with the smaller ribbing. The pattern itself is clearly written, in my opinion. I think this is only my second time doing a Jessie Made pattern. I personally like her layout though. It's easy for my eye to look at where I'm going. I really appreciate that she has a schematic and dimensions listed for different areas of the top. Most designers will list off the measurements, say like the bust and the length, but she actually has a schematic showing that, so I really appreciate that. The only part that my brain had a little trouble with was, which I can't even remember exactly which part of the pattern it is now. I think it was when I was still working on the front, and I think it's on like when you're working this part, and like most patterns, you know, you have to repeat this section however many times, but the part that needed to be repeated had a little bit of a repeat within itself, so you had to repeat or repeat or repeat. That's too many repeats. This is not going to make any sense unless you're doing the pattern. And I got stuck on this because the way I was reading it, I thought, so do I have to repeat that repeat within that section? And the answer is yes. I had to kind of do some quick math and count out the rows to figure out, yes, that is supposed to be what you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't end up with a long enough front, Melissa. But anyways, my brain had trouble with that for whatever reason. Just throwing that out there in case you have the same feeling, you're not alone. I got stuck on that part as well. But other than that, pattern, again, totally fine. Okay, so the yarn for this garment, given that I guess it's technically a sock yarn, is a fingering weight yarn with nylon content considered a sock yarn? Is that like a given? Maybe that's too like presumptuous of me. But anyways, I think the fact that this has that polyamide content really helped with it behave more like a non-superwash wool versus a superwash one. And I say that because of the blocking process. So for this one, where I got it wet and put on the blocking mat and was like, oh wow, it's way longer. This one, no, I actually had to pin this out to the dimensions that I wanted. And I did experience that when I wash and blocked my original gauge swatch as well. So I liked that. So this had, a more predictable size outcome versus this one, even though I was careful. I had my gauge swatch and did all my measurements and everything. If you by chance weren't as careful, then I would suggest going with something that has a little bit of a nylon or polyamide content. It adds some strength to it, and in my experience, makes the yarn behave more like non-superwash. So yeah, I would say also that given that this garment has negative ease, putting this on and off, it seems to have a good spring back. It has yet to kind of bag out on me. It still hugs my body just as it did on day one of wear. I found this yarn really pleasant to work with. It's glided just in the perfect rate across my wooden needles, which is what I used for mine. I think in general, I'm definitely like team bamboo, team wooden needles. Although if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I was team metal needles, but now I'm obsessed with bamboo needles right now. And it's very soft and comfortable. So I would say it's even softer than this yarn. I think it's also a little bit of the texture that comes out of this one, that pinstriping that you get with it. Not that I can feel that while I'm wearing it. It's still a very smooth yarn, a smooth, comfortable garment. This one is just even softer and even smoother. So given the opportunity, I would totally use this yarn again. And if I had to pick only one out of the yarns I was gifted, I would pick the Unicorn Solid. I only say that because this yarn feels very similar to Drop's Baby Merino, I think it's called. And then this mohair, like I could buy tin silk mohair locally rather than having this shipped to me. And I say tin silk mohair because that mohair has a little bit of wool content as well. So that's, if you want to compare more apples to apples. But when it comes to this one, I think the colors offered from Hobbii are better. All right, so the performance review on the mini mock neck tank. Did I wear it? Yes. I've worn it, I don't know as much as this one, but we've had some pretty warm weather in the past month. Well, 2 months actually. It's the end of August. The mock neck tank I finished in 4 days. I probably could have done it even faster, but mom duties. If I wasn't looking after Darcy, I probably could have finished this in a weekend, I think. It was exactly what I needed at the time, and it just felt really nice to work on it. It was just challenging enough, like when you have to actually read the instructions, go back, do some more knitting, read the instructions again. Not that it was difficult, but it was engaging, I think is the word I am looking for there. And just when, so I get tired of rounds and rounds of stockinette. So just when you feel like you don't want to do any more stockinette, oh, you're done. Although mine's cropped, so you may not have that same feeling if you don't make a cropped version. So I have worn it about once a week since the beginning of July. Where have I worn it? So I've worn this running errands. If you saw my reel, I wore it shopping at Costco. I've worn this to the playground with Darcy. Although the playground is when I start to get a little bit self-conscious, because I think the day that I wore them, I wore shorts that weren't as high-waisted as other shorts I wear. So I felt like kind of like showing too much midriff at a playground with a bunch of kids. So that's where I probably should have worn higher pants or shorts, or just not have worn it. But it was really hot out and I really wanted to wear it. So number 4, what did I wear it with? As I said, high-waisted bottoms. I don't like showing off a lot of midriff. I don't mind showing off a little bit. So that is why it's kind of reserved for wearing with high-waisted bottoms only. That would include skirts as well. So anything that comes high-waisted. Number 5, why was it worn as many times as it was? Well, we had some really warm weather and it was appropriate for that. Now by really warm, it got up to about 30 degrees. That's warm for Vancouver. Also, plus the humidity. I don't know if this would work if it was more humid or even hotter than that. I could see if it was less humid but hotter, so like think more desert, it might still work. I don't know. Had I had the opportunity to wear this back in my hometown, which is a desert region in BC, I think I'd like to think I'd still be able to wear it. So where I grew up is in the Okanagan Valley, rattlesnake country, but it's very hot, get very dry. I think it was just last summer or the summer before, it got up to 44 degrees Celsius. I don't know if that would still be appropriate for that, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is, despite it being wool, I did not feel sweaty in it. So yeah, worked well for the warm weather. It goes with multiple outfits. Green is a color I wear a lot, and I tend to wear neutral bottoms and neutral like layer over top, so it matched a lot of my summer attire. Number 6, changes. So I think as what happened with my camisole number 9, with it kind of the length rising up because of the circumference went out, I think my top is a little bit more cropped than it was initially before wearing it. So I wish it was a little bit longer, just like a little bit, but it's still wearable for me. So number 7, would I make another? Yes, I would, and I would make it just a little bit longer, so I'm not as self-conscious about it. And that concludes the performance reviews. Again, I apologize, couldn't do a performance review on the Dare to Mohair top, but as I said, hopefully once weather cools down and I have more opportunities to wear it, I will report back. Or maybe I'll say that I don't actually like that style and I don't like wearing mohair alone. I don't know. That's yet to be decided. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if there's anything in particular you want to know more about the yarn, the patterns, or the garments that I haven't mentioned, I am happy to answer any questions you have. What's next? I've got a couple test knits on the go, one of which I'm very, very excited. I just got accepted today, so, but I won't get into that. That will be for next month's video. Maybe you'll find out on Instagram sooner. Check me out on Instagram, String Things by Mel, if you're not already. I do a little bit more regular stories and posts there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know this one's a bit longer, but did have a lot of information and things to get through. So thank you for sticking around, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, happy knitting. Bye.